The Prime Minister and opposition leader have engaged in a round of blame game over who's responsible for the government's failure to secure legislative approval for the offshore processing of asylum seekers. The political defeat of the Malaysia solution means a return to onshore processing, an outcome both sides say they don't want. Political correspondent Tom Eagleton reports from Canberra.
The minority government roller coaster's off on another jaunt. The government's been left promoting an onshore processing policy it doesn't want.
What has always driven me is my belief in strong border protection.
The opposition's opposing a policy it's long supported.
It's not the opposition's job to support bad policy.
And the Greens are celebrating a result they did little to bring about.
We have always held this was the right way for Australia to go.
The opposition and the government both want offshore processing. Each says the other could have it by supporting their legislation,
which would enable him, if he was ever Prime Minister, to do what he has said he believes is the best thing to do. I mean, how crassly political and destructive can you get?
She stubbornly and arrogantly insisted that it had to be her way or no way. It was never going to be her way, and she had no Plan B.
It was suggested to Julia Gillard today that Bob Brown is the real Prime Minister.
It's just a stupid description, John. And it's just wrong.
A more realistic threat is Kevin Rudd. She was also asked today about the kiss that sealed her victory on the carbon tax.
Oh, Deborah, I mean, what a load of old silliness that people are going on with. You would expect Labor members to mark the moment, and that's the only thing that happened.
The carbon tax might be unpopular, but it's about the best hope Julia Gillard's got for reviving her fortunes. The asylum seeker issues a damaging diversion from the government's campaign to sell the tax.
There are a lot of businesses out there that want information about how this is going to work. I know there's anxiety out there, and we will keep providing information as necessary.
Tony Abbott's got some advice of his own.
Ladies and gentlemen, an incoming coalition government's first instruction to the public service would be to prepare legislation to rescind the tax. And we give businesses fair warning not to buy forward permits under a tax regime that will be closed down.
But Kevin Rudd says Mr Abbott hasn't explained how he'd repeal the tax.
The sheer cost to business of dismantling a scheme, which at the end of the day is directly imposed on 500 of our largest companies, against the opportunity cost of going to what he proposes, which is a vastly more expensive scheme for the Australian taxpayer, I think would bear heavily on his mind.
The government's running out of opportunities to reset its relationship with voters. They weren't impressed when the carbon tax was unveiled on Carbon Sunday, and now that the legislation's been passed, the border protection issues undermined whatever bounce could have been hoped for. Tom Eagleton, Late Line.